Alright, welcome back guys. We're going to finish up 3B on scientific notation. So we just finished looking at multiplying and dividing numbers that are expressed in scientific notation. So now what we're going to do is look at adding and subtracting them. Okay, and then we've got a couple little word problems. Okay, so with addition and subtraction, this may seem a bit backwards or unproductive. But if you have two numbers expressed in scientific notation like we have here, you actually convert them to ordinary notation, okay? And then you add them, and then convert that sum back to scientific notation. Okay, so regardless of whether it's addition or subtraction, the procedure is the same. Okay, so we're going to look at do one ourselves. So this next one. So we've got 5 times 10 to the third plus 5 times 10 to the second. So the first thing I need to do is convert each of these to ordinary notation. So 5 times 10 to the third, remember the decimal is behind the 5. And so I'm multiplying it by 10 to the third, which is a bigger number. It's like 1,000, so I need to move this decimal to the right 3 places. And so if I do that and fill in those empty places with zeros, I get 5,000 plus, and then I'm going to convert 5 times 10 to the second. Well, it's very similar. Just move the decimal to the right 2 places and you're going to get 500. Okay. So then we can add these together. You should be able to do this in your head. 5,000 plus 500 is 5,500. Okay. And then our last step here is then to convert this number expressed in ordinary notation back to scientific notation. So again, remember that 5,500, the decimal's understood to be at the very end. So we're going to have to move it 3 places to put it between those two 5s. So this will become 5.5 times 10 to the, so since I'm moving it 3 places to the left, I'm essentially making this number smaller, so I need my power of 10 to be bigger. So it's going to be a positive 3. Okay, so 5.5 times 10 to the third. And it would be the same if this was subtraction. Okay, instead of adding them right here, we would just subtract them. All right, so the last thing we're going to do is look at a couple problems in which we can do some arithmetic with numbers expressed in scientific notation to figure this out. So it says there's approximately 2.8 million deaths per country, per year in country A. So we want to express this quantity as deaths per minute. So this is sort of we're going to need to convert essentially years to minutes. And then it says type an integer or decimal rounded to 1 decimal place. Okay. So I'm going to start off with what we're given here, guys. 2.8 million deaths per year. Now 2.8 million, a million has 6 zeros. Okay, so it's a 1 followed by 6 zeros. Okay, these go in threes, so 1 followed by 3 zeros is 1,000, 1 followed by 6 zeros is 1,000,000, 9 zeros is 1,000,000,000, 12 zeros is 1,000,000,000,000, etc. So what I could do when it says 2.8 million, I could say, okay, 2.8 times 1,000,000 as a power of 10, which would be 10 to the 6th power. And this is deaths per year. Okay, so I'm going to put my year in the denominator there. Now, what I need to do is use, a couple conversion factors to convert years into minutes. And that'll tell us the number of deaths per minute, because that's what we're trying to find. All right, so first thing we could do is realize that in a year there are 365 days. So my first conversion factor could be that 1 year Remember, I need to put my year in the numerator so that they divide out, is equal to 365 days. Okay, and then, well, let's go ahead and divide out the years there. And then we need to convert days into, we could go to hours, so we could say that 1 day is equal to 24 hours, okay? And then that would divide out our days. And then finally we can go from days to minutes. Or I said that wrong. We can go from hours to minutes. So we can say that 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes, okay? And then divide out those hours. And we'll say equals. And so you can see here, at the end, I'm going to have deaths per minute. That'll be like my unit. But now I need to do some arithmetic right here. All right, so what you can do is you can type in 2.8 times 10 to the 6th power. You can hit enter if you want. That'll just convert it to ordinary notation. And then we need to divide this by all these numbers in the numerator here. Okay, they're all being multiplied. So 365. So to make sure you keep all these factors in the denominators, you need to keep everything in parentheses here. So 365 times 24 times 60. Close those parentheses and hit enter. And we end up getting 5 point, let's see, this said round it to 1 decimal place. So 1 decimal place, there's a 2 behind the 3, so we don't round up, we keep it the same. So this ends up becoming 5.3. Okay, so 5.3 deaths per minute. This is interesting, guys. When we hear big figures like this, it's easier, or it helps us to understand the magnitude of this figure by putting it in something more relatable, okay, like deaths per minute. That gives us a better sense of actually the magnitude of the rate of deaths, okay. And then in this next one, we're going to look at the debt, okay. So at the end of the year, it says the gross debt of a country stood at about 20 trillion. So this is around the debt of the USA. And so it's hard to really fathom, to get an intuitive sense of what that even means, because numbers in the trillions we don't really deal with on a daily basis, and so consequently we don't have a feel for just how large that value actually is. What we can do is express this in dollars per person, and that'll give us a real sense or a real feel of just how great the debt in our country is. Okay, so it says the debt is 20 trillion, and we want to express this in dollars per person, assuming that the population of the country is 289 million. And then it says type a whole number, okay, round to the nearest hundred as needed. Okay, we'll get to that here in a minute. So we want to express this in dollars per person. Okay, so I've got 20 trillion. So I'm going to express that as a power of 10. A trillion, remember they go in threes, guys. So you got 1,000, then you got a million, then you got a billion, then you got a trillion. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of 3 zeros. So that's going to be 10 to the 12th power, okay? $1 trillion per. What we need to do is divide this amount by the total population per person, okay? Well, the total population is 289 million. So I'm going to express that in scientific notation as well. So 289 million, well, that's 10 to the 6th power, because a million has 6 zeros. And I'm going to put people down here, okay? And so really all we need to do is just divide this out. Okay, so I'm going to use my calculator to do that, or I'm actually going to work with these numbers in scientific notation. I'm going to use this opportunity to do that. So what I could do is divide these two pieces. I'm going to say 20 divided by 289. Now this is going to give me a decimal. And I'll carry this out. I'm just going to write 0.06. I'll carry out to a few decimal places, and I'll do my rounding at the very end. 6, I'm going to say 9,20415. The reason I'm carrying it out to this many decimal places is because I'm going to have a power of 10 left over, and so that power of 10 is going to move my decimal. So I want to make sure that I've got enough digits out here. All right, and then when you divide the two powers of 10 here, if you recall, you subtract the exponents. So 10 to the 12th divided by 10 to the 6th will be 10 to the 6th. So say times 10 to the 6th, okay? All right, so now I'm going to convert this to ordinary notation. So this 10 to the 6th is going to move this decimal to the right 6 places, because this number's got to get bigger, because 10 to the 6th is a million, which is a big number. So if I move it to the right 6 places, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? So this would become 69204, that's where the decimal goes, and then the 15, okay? All right, now the rounding, it says round to the nearest 100. So we need to figure out which digit is in the hundreds place, and it is the 2 right here. 2 is in the hundreds place, so we look to the right and there's a 0, so we're going to keep that 2 a 2. So in other words, this is going to round to 69,200. And it's going to be dollars. $69,200 per person. Okay. So now that we are looking at the debt per person, it's easier for us to get an idea of the magnitude. So this is almost $70,000 per person. So that's actually seems like quite a bit to me. Okay. All right. All right, guys. Well, that'll conclude the lecture portion for chapter or for 3B. So the next video that you'll see is going to be a video in which I'm going to start working out the review for the first test, the test over chapters 1, 2, and 3. Okay.